Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twitch Tuesdays at the TRU Library. As always, I'm Ben Mitchell, Student Success and Outreach Librarian, joined once again by Michelle, our Law Librarian. And today we are going to continue on along our journey. While also talking about academic integrity. And not just in...
Yay!
I mean, yay! But not just in a dour sense, but here, let's get into a little bit of gaming first. Back to where we... Let's see if we can change this color palette eventually.
Oh, everyone's so excited for today.
It's this section. Let's see if I can get the scarf again then.
Yeah, we didn't get to free the scarves last time, and that's been upsetting.
Uh-huh. Scarves want to be free. Okay, now there's the scarf. Wish. Oof. Bounce. There we go again. We Excelsior. Oh wow. Am I just power flying through this? Is it gonna like oof? But it definitely keeps on funneling me through. Oh, thankfully there's no fall damage in this game. Oh hey.
I was watching Dimension 20 and somebody fully forgot about fall damage when they decided to jump off a cliff.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this? What's this? Aha, yes, they're helping direct me towards scarf piece. If I can land, huzzah! Yay! Again, Michelle, you mentioned before they're like Bodhisattvas. Could you explain a little bit about that?
What did I say? Sorry?
We discussed last week how you can see other players who've gone through the game and who like when they're doing a replay of it to kind of Bodhisattvas, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So in Buddhism, there is a concept called the Bodhisattva. Obviously, there is the Buddha. Buddha means to be awake or the awakened one. So that is more of a title. The original Buddha, who everyone just calls Buddha, was Siddhartha Gautama, who achieved this state of awakening and left the cycle of birth and rebirth and suffering and entered nirvana, which is the state outside of the cycle. Bodhisattva, by contrast, is a person who gets to the precipice of nirvana and goes back. They swear an oath to continue to be reincarnated until all life forms are free of the cycle of birth and death and rebirth and suffering. So it's like this person who has won the game and come on back to help you win the game.
Yeah, there's a number of games that have kind of mechanics or groups like that. Actually, a friend of mine who played Dark Souls. There was actually a team that tried to be universally helpful. Oh hey, they were drawing my attention to this other plaque here. What's here? What's this? Okay, no, it's another one of them in their society, trying to piece together what their world was like in these fragments.
It looks like sometimes they talked to each other.
Yeah. Just like in real life. Sometimes.
So relatable. Also relatable, the ones that appear to be shut in.
Also, it's a mood. It's a mood. Mm-hmm.
Possibly talking to the wall.
Alrighty. The thing is, though, like I like being shown around a little bit, but I also like just kind of going at my own pace.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel a little bit anxious sometimes, and I'm like, oh, but like they're gonna get bored with me like grinding my face against every wall in case there's a secret there because I have struggles.
Buddy, Nirvana's over here. You know what? All right.
Come on, do I think these Scarves? Oh, there we go. Yeah, come on. Elevate me. Elevate. Elevate. Elevate.
That is a bit like the Bodhisattva thing, because one of the metaphors in Buddhism is yes, there are many other things that are happening in life, and yes, you can spend the time to philosophically figure them out. But you're in a house that's on fire, so
Hmm.
maybe the first thing you want to do is get out of the house and not discover what color the wallpaper is, which is certainly a way of looking at things.
Yeah. Oh, something up there.
Because I certainly get bogged down in, what color is the wallpaper on the way
Uh-huh.
out of the house.
You know, you're not likely to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
If it's on fire. It's interesting you mentioned the word like the house is on. Is that like because I remember there's the fire sermon or something? What is fire sermon? Video game YouTuber I liked referenced that again, actually in relationship to Dark Souls,
Oh.
because Dark Souls has a lot of like fire mythology and themes connected to it. No, I don't think there's actually a secret up there. I think I just projecting. But yeah. All right, so we've got a few people in there.
Color of the wallpaper!
Smash my face into it. Delicious. Alright, so I thought those scarf friends were going to... I think I need to get up there. You see where the sun is like blasting in the face? I think I need to use these scarf guys. Get further up. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's the right trajectory. Boof. Oof. All right, we're back to the slippy slide. Welcome to the folks in the group. I don't have time to see who's all there, but I know there's a few of you there.
Yeah, we've got a couple people tuning in for the exciting business of discussing academic integrity. When you first said that, I was thinking Ben. No, Ben. But you explained it, and you know what? It's a good topic. Everybody got hands.
I can make things. I can relate things to other things. That's what my PhD is good for. I can see a pattern between this thing and another thing. Yeah. So, like, also in the spirit of academic integrity, I feel like I should make a little bit of an errata, or like a correction to some things I said last week. Oh, look at that! Like, whoa! Like, I just really want you to like look at the world, right? Like, it's like
that is pretty spectacular.
I kind of don't even think I can control the camera angle at this point. It's just like, just look at it. That's where you're going. Whee! Boof. Boof. Whee! There we go. Oh, are we going down? From the really bright and like looking at the pinnacle to like, doop, down I go again. Boof. Okay, sorry, this is actually kind of engaging me in a way. So yeah, so multitasking is hard. So yeah, to just make an errata or a correction from last week, we talked about anxiety and like that go 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 attitude, and I said that like I've been getting good grades my whole life. That is not in fact true. I feel like I need to correct myself, face some dark truths.
When did you get that grade then?
I almost failed grade primary. I was actually like I was in resource for all of elementary school. Poof. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's a thing. Yeah, no, actually I went to like the special ed classes and stuff with all the other special ed kids, what they were calling it at the time. Folks were kind of unkind and would call it don't eat the crayons class and stuff. I only really started to do okay in school in junior high. And then I started getting better and better grades. And actually at some point I'd like to, when I'm talking about neurodiversity in gaming and like school stuff, I have some anecdotes to share about that. But yeah, and then also my grades started to fall off again in my library masters because I was getting tired and curmudgeonly at that point. But generally there was a relatively large period in between those two bookends when I was just, yeah, trying to reach impossible standards of academic performance. Let's see what this tall friend has to say. Or not say, in the case may be. So they have their scarf society, but the scarves are starting to fail. And their lights are going out. I don't know, maybe I think like maybe they're fighting, they're fighting over the scarf in that picture and breaking them.
Oh yeah, that looks like fighting over the scarf.
And then there's this thing, which we'll see later.
Ooh.
It is ominous and sinister.
Well, that's a very Death Star looking schematics type thing.
Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why I thought actually academic integrity and citation stuff might be a good thing to talk about while we're playing Journey is just because Journey is a story, really, that is told partially around these fragments of the past, right? You're trying to see what kind of connections were left behind between things, to draw associations between them. Oh, hello, friend. Oh, no, but I don't want to be... I'm going to go slow and be talking to students, friend. I don't want to feel like I need to... Also, another thing, you could actually help charge each other's scarves. That jumping energy. That's why our scarves are jumping around whenever we sing to each other. But yeah,
so fighting destroys the scarves and singing empowers the scarves. I see.
Yeah. We've gone to the depths of this society now. Everything is cold and blue. And, scarf envy. Look at the size of that scarf.
Scarf envy is what destroyed the society, then.
Oh, it's
Don't
true.
fall prey.
It's true. But yeah. So I want to let them know I want to sit down and read a quotation to the audience, but like I feel a pressure. Alright, you know what? I'm just going to deal with that pressure. I am going to give them a final big song farewell and have a sit down here. But yeah. So it was brought to my attention. I mentioned before that my partner was reading a book that talked about citation and kind of the politics of citation, which was kind of interesting. I tracked that down. It's actually called Living a Feminist Life by Sarah Ahmed, who's a feminist scholar of color who reflects on feminist theory, and it's also in its relationship to citational practices. And I'm just going to kind of like read this quote at length. Maybe it'll be a little bit boring, but I just want to like share it. Oh no, my battery is low. Oh no, everything is getting complicated now. 1 second, folks.
No citations. No citations for anyone.
I need to recharge my batteries. Oof. Oh no.
That would have been a better metaphor for last time.
Achievement unlocked, reflection. Oh, you get an achievement for just sitting down with a friend. See, like, this is why I love these kinds of games, because, like, they give you rewards for, like, non-conventional actions. There we go. So, yeah. So now I just want to read this quotation. So, Sarah Ahmed writes, "My citation policy has given me more room to attend to those feminists who came before me. Citation is feminist theory. Citation is how we acknowledge our debt to those who came before, those who helped us find our way when the way was obscured because we deviated from the paths we were told to follow. In this book, I cite feminists of color who have contributed to the project of naming and dismantling the institutions of patriarchal whiteness. I consider this book primarily as a contribution to feminists of color scholarship and activism. This body of work is where I feel most at home, where I find energy as well as resources." And moving on a little bit further down, citation can be feminist bricks. They're the materials from which we create our dwellings. My citation policy has affected the kind of house I have built. I realized this is not simply through writing the book, though what I found about what came up, but also through giving presentations. As I have already noted in previous work, I have built a philosophical edifice by my engagement with the history of ideas. We cannot conflate the history of ideas with white men, though if doing one leads to another, then we are being taught where ideas are assumed to originate. Seminal, how ideas are assumed to originate from male bodies. I now think of that philosophical edifice as a timber frame around which a house is being built. In this book, I have not built a house by using that frame, and I have felt much more exposed. Perhaps citations are feminist straw, lighter material that, when put together, still create a shelter, but a shelter that leaves you more vulnerable. That is how it felt writing this work, as well as speaking from it, being in the wind, being blown about, more or less, depending on what I encountered. The words I sent out danced around me. I began to pick up on things I had not noticed before. I began to wonder how much I had in the past built an edifice to create a distance. Sometimes we need distance to follow a thought. Sometimes we need to give up distance to follow that thought. So, yeah, I don't know. If you've gone through any of the kind of academic integrity talks at school, you don't tend to get something that's that poetic, that is reflecting on citational practices, positioning yourself within a community. But I thought that was a really interesting, reflection on what citation can be in a more almost spiritual sense.
Well, it's quite interesting to me as well, because citations, as we teach them in a university, are only citations, they only work for the type of knowledge production that we've agreed is valuable. So if someone's written an article in a journal or published, especially in a more traditional manner, we have ways to cite that. But for, say, traditional knowledge, with which is something that Tesh Dagne, so one of our law professors, if I can plug some of our research, yes, he does a lot of work with traditional and indigenous knowledge, especially as it relates to farming and biodiversity. But how do you cite it? It's not in a journal, so we've can I start this sentence even more ways with a single word?
Go for it. This is unscripted, folks.
Yeah. We're clearly setting up a value system, because we're saying you can only cite this type of material that's come before you. You can only recognize the type of material that's come before you if it has gone through the knowledge verification processes that we have set up as a society, which are not necessarily the knowledge verification processes of other cultures. So it's very interesting to me in that way.
Very much so. There's a cultural specificity and an assumed kind of cultural superiority to a lot of such conventional citation practices. Double-blind peer review is, there's reasons for it, but those reasons are not, above investigation, are not above criticism. Is important.
Yes.
Scarves.
Sorry, I'm being distracted by these kelp scarves.
Right, yeah, it manages to go from very deserty to almost like underwater vibes without actually being an underwater level.
Yeah.
Go down. Oh, no, down.
It's good, because I always found those underwater Mario levels very stressful. You only have so long, or you have to watch Mario suffocate. I hated it. I hated it.
Wait, would Mario do that? I thought Mario could just swim and breathe and he has his plumber powers, so he doesn't have to worry about air.
Oh, in Super Mario 64, if you were swimming in the water castle, you could drown.
64, I see. Yeah, I was thinking of the ordinary or Super Nintendo water levels. So again, dating myself. But
Shall I have my dwarf? But there's a time limit.
I mean, true. But for the old Mario games, there was a time limit for every level. Sonic drowns you. Yeah, we can rate Nintendo characters based on their lung capacity. The tier list. Nintendo character tier list. Lung capacity.
I mean, you'd think that Sonic would have better VO2 than Mario, but I guess not, according to the game developers.
Oh, coming. Up. Jellyfish, help. Because I think you can keep on flying as long as you keep activating the scarves. A little bit. Yeah. From place to place. Because I'm pretty sure you can complete the game without getting any other scarf pieces. It just let you access little minor secrets and whatnot. Poof, there we go. But yeah. Actually, one of the things when I played World of Warcraft, one of the things that was I always played the undead characters, and they were the only group that just could stay underwater indefinitely. I just sit in the bottom of a lake and chill out. Because I could.
strategy. No.
That wasn't really quite like, power gaming or anything. I just like being meditative at the bottom of a lake. But yeah. So we talk about citation, we talk about academic integrity, and academic integrity is a very we're getting close to serious things. That face lie to you. It would.
Oh, very serious.
Let's see. Oh hey, I think that person's. Oh, that's rumblier. Oh, when does it?
See, I feel I'm really missing out.
There it is.
Sound.
Yeah. This section makes you feel small. It makes you feel small. Because that's the thing, oftentimes games are kind of power fantasies, right? Of like, you break all the things. It's much rarer when a game is like, I am a mouse. Just gonna hug that wall.
This boss is not designed to be beaten. Run away from it.
Yeah, right?
I think that might be a healthier thing to do. I've noticed my brother say things like, well, I'd like to take a sword into the woods because then I could beat a bear. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't.
Unreasonable expectations.
Sword with a finger. Yeah.
Maybe with a halberd if you want to get like medieval, like,
right?
bear hunting
if you really
strats.
Want a melee weapon, it's got to be mid-range, Patty. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the music and the sound. Yeah, you're missing out on some of the sounds is a thing. Oh my, but yeah. Oh, actually, I'm going to be so distractible during this section. Look at that spotlight. You don't want to be in that spotlight. That's where the eye is. So that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think fear is a good motivator. Oh, it just devoured that scarf thing. Fear is a good motivator in like academic contexts. There's a reason why we, enjoy horror or being kind of creeped out in a video game setting and not in our like real life everyday interpersonal interactions.
No.
And I've never liked that fear-based approach to academic integrity discussions. Because it is kind of like it has like a one-eyed spotlight on you. Just constantly being scrutinized. I've had students like really like just like having anxiety attacks in my office because they're like, they misplaced a period and like, is that a citation infraction? Did they plagiarize? Oh, more of them are coming about.
It's actually how I ended up taking religious studies as opposed to psychology. I had intended to do a psychology degree in my undergrad. Yeah, but we had never gone over citations in my high school, so I get there, they don't explain what APA is, they just tell us in psych, do it. And then they took off a point for every single time we got it wrong. So I just left that program, did not feel like doing it. No, thank you.
Yeah, right, and that feels just punitive, right? Like, they're not trying to like lift you up or educate you in that case. They're trying to find ways to penalize you. Like, I don't think that's a good educational approach. Like, it's like the game is rigged from the start. They're just trying to ding you. And it kind of, I think, obscures the point, the more like important point of why we cite. Oh no, 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 oh no. It's fine, oh god, it's not fine, it's not fine. Oh, it's not fine. Oh, he ripped my scarf.
Oh no!
He scarfed it down. Oh, yep. So that's what happens. Like, it doesn't like kill you, but like you do feel the effect.
It makes that jumping.
Yeah, it makes it harder to reach the heights you could have otherwise.
Yeah, it's very interesting to talk about why we cite. It is almost poetic when you really think about the why in terms of a conversation between you and, coming from religious studies up to hundreds of generations for you ongoing. Just an ongoing conversation throughout history about these specific ideas.
Right, yeah, it is a kind of way of being in community. Okay, yeah, no, it's, I think there's no way to not have to just run away from these guys. Ugh. Yo. It has a good sense of drama. There we go.
Drama, yes. Drama is the dramatic way of saying.
Drumbler.
But I did find that when I moved to libraries, one of the my inspirational factors was the Grimm brothers, who were lawyers and then became librarians, and that was the point at which they started collecting their stories, and then they went on to become linguists after that. But just to have
dead
that
people.
Oh boy, that's upsetting.
Then the sands.
Ongoing conversation, that intellectual link to history. Yeah, the Grimms were librarians. They started as they were actually pretty cool. They were lawyers to start with, and they got kicked out of the city that they were in when they were at a university there. Because they were pro having a constellation.
This is kind of interesting because it's like a constellation, and the symbol of the constellation that coalesces into a being like you.
Ooh, we're made of stardust.
There's so many Grimm-based, like Grimm Tales-based video games. We could have a whole Grimm episode if you wanted at some point.
Oh, yes. Again, we would have to talk about Nazis, but that's not their fault.
History. Oh, history. Oh,
yeah.
The Grimms were librarians.
Although, like, they were radicals in that they were extremely pro having a constitution, anti, one person being able to do whatever that one person wanted. So they got kicked out of their entire town for it, and ended up going off and becoming librarians in Kessel.
Oh yeah. Right, because that was the age of like the enlightened despots, air quotes around all of that. Like, wasn't it? Yeah. There we go, the tower. But yeah.
And to know that that lineage is really inspiring, and then I think you can feel that with your research as well when you're doing academic integrity properly, to know that you're having this really storied discussion with all of the people who came before you, and with a bunch of really interesting contemporaries.
Yeah. And also, like, you're not just that, right? Because you're also involved in some ways in creating a history, right? Like, who you cite creates, they talk about, like, the canon, the Western canon of the great thinkers, and, all of that, which is, overwhelmingly old white dudes. And I mean, like, as someone who spent his 20s studying an old white dude, like, there's some interesting old white dudes and interesting old white dude stuff, but overwhelmingly what that is this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy of, how do we assign greatness? How do we decide that something is worth both referencing in a positive light or even worth our attention to criticize in a negative light? You're making choices at every step along the way when you're bringing research and citing sources in your work about what kind of intellectual world you're creating and want to contribute to. Oh, hey, wait, am I like supercharged? I think am I just floating about? Oh, I think I am supercharged. Woohoo! Oh, I'm just supercharged while I'm below there, or no?
I also agree with Shall I Have My Dwarf's opinion in the chat, which I will not read into the voice chat,
okay.
But yeah.
I have my notes section up, so I can't see that right now, so I will check that out later. But, let's see. Go. Boop. Anything in there? Curious. Probably not. This game does often thwart my smash my face against all the surfaces impulses because it doesn't always reward it. Yeah, see, this was just not worth it. But yeah. And the thing too is, like, when we talk about academic integrity, like, the integrity part is what I really like to try to focus on. Like, when we talk about integrity right? It's, how do you be as a thinker internally consistent, right? How do you enact your values in your intellectual work, right? There's a term that gets misused a lot in activist spaces called praxis, which is when your theory and your practice harmoniously align with one another, that there's not actually like a disconnect between your theories and how you actually conduct yourself or conduct your work. Like good praxis is that term, and I think like good citation policies are part of that. Yeah, and positioning yourself in your connections, and also like leaving a place better than when you found it, because like when you're producing, I mean, it's hard to see when you're like just trying to grind out wait, no, my scarf is out of batteries. Haha, thank you, friends. Oh, oof, oof. Uh-oh, I don't want to be here. Scarf friends. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. Yep. Up. Tall. No. Oh, boo. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go back a little ways. I got distracted. Elizabeth was like, you can play games and talk about like information literacy. You can be on Ask Away. And I'm like, I'm glad you think so highly of my abilities. All right, I'm going to have to go all the way back here. Sorry, folks. Oh, wait, is there a... No, anyway, I've already been there. All right, let's try this again. Once more with feeling. But yeah, and actually one text, if you're interested in exploring more kind of like the full range of academic integrity as a concept, is actually, it's an open access text. So I think that's really handy. No matter what institution you end up at, you can go to. It's actually called Academic Integrity in Canada, an Enduring and Essential Challenge, edited by Sarah Elaine Eaton and Julia Kristen Hughes. And it actually talks about the full gamut of academic integrity, right? Like, it's not just like, oh God, cite your sources or they're going to get you, but it's thinking about like academic integrity across academia, from like quality assurance in education, research ethics and integrity, admission fraud, fake and fraudulent credentials, public ethics, education technology and ethics. So many of these like surveillance technologies that have been used during the pandemic are actually super unethical because of the ways in which they share student data in ways that are not acceptable, right? And that's also part of...
They're going to a lecture or a webinar shortly because Thomson Reuters has been giving student data to ICE in the States.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say ICE?
ICE.
Yeah. And that's not okay. There's some more.
Shall I Have My Dwarf would like to mention that the MLA Handbook 8th edition is a good read. Oh yeah, also LexisNexis has been doing it. Yeah, none of the law ones are good.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, yeah, sometimes, I can control myself again. Oh, it's accelerated with the places where I'm supercharged, so I can just keep on going up. So yeah, a lot of the ways that like academic integrity is talked about is like, it's just like making the student afraid, and like, no, this academic integrity should be a concern and it affects everyone in the academy, as it were. It's not just, a punitive law book for students, though it's often treated that way. It's also a code of conduct for those who want to participate in academic spaces and discussions of whatever kind, right? And so that's like, it's not something that can be like taken away or given to you from an external source. It's how you behave yourself. And and it's also tied in with I think like practices in education and teaching. I'm gonna spill some tea here. I met a grad student once that made me very cross. Oh, let's see what this has to say.
Oh, very cross. I'm so excited to hear this.
Oh. Sad pants. Oh, no supercharge. Oh, hey, wildly average. This is some classy tea so far, Ben. Good stuff. Uh-huh. Oh, hey. Oh, I love that, like, giant scarf. Like, the scarf friends get more elaborate. Whee! So yeah, so I was...
Earl Grey tea so far. Let's get some... Throw in the chai.
Earl Grey, hot. It's a bald man thing. But no, it's... So I was talking to this grad student at a institution that likes to be known for its, street cred academically. Oh, I'm gonna get that scarf piece because I have problems not getting things. I also have problems getting things, it seems. But yeah, and this grad student, because grad students are teaching assistants, grad students grade, undergraduate papers. this graduate student, when grading, was like, well, we have standards, so if I don't think that the paper is going to pass, I just stop grading it and give it a 0. And I don't put any other comments just to say that this is unacceptable. And as someone who cares about education, that made me a sad panda. No, more than a sad panda, that made me a grumpy panda. Because like that's not how standards work. That's not how academic integrity works. Like if a student, if a paper has done very poorly, if it's done 30%, say, is a 30% paper, that does mean that you as a grader have to do so much more work with it. You have to point out the issues that were wrong with it. You have to clearly explain why it's a 30% paper rather than, it's just being like, oh, I don't want to put in the intellectual work to, actually explain to the student, treat this essay or assignment as an educational experience. So like, I'm just going to give them a 0 and say, we have standards here, when really what he was doing was the exact opposite, was just demonstrating how few standards he had. So yeah, that...
Half my dwarf says, that's the weirdest part of grad school, honestly, where they're like, oh, you graduated, now grade people who would have been your peers 5 months ago. Students are... MA students are so qualified.
So one thing, because of like staffing issues at my old school when I was an undergraduate, I started being a teaching assistant from my second year of undergrad. Oh. So like, I've been a teaching assistant for a very long time. So yeah, it's
one thing I'll give to X, and because it's my alma mater, I tend to be more critical of it. But they don't do teaching assistants so much. They really try to stick to professors.
Interesting.
Teaching and grading.
That's so rare these days. I've had to like mark literally hundreds, if not thousands, of assignments. There's some slippy slidey qualities about these scarves that I don't want to fall off of. Oh. Alrighty. This is the slippery slope argument. Do that?
Shall I have my dwarf says, at STU we had TAs in the 3rd year, but they did not grade. They just sat in front of tutorials.
Oh, interesting. Oof. Oof. So yeah, so I'd say like academic standards aren't just a student problem. Like I think it's as a student, you are part of a community. You're a part of an intellectual community. I guess I'm just trying to repeat myself now for the sake of pretending to be educational.
But honestly, it's so much harder to grade a poor paper than poor, not the nicest way to say it, but a poor paper than...
A paper that didn't do as well.
Yeah, it's harder to grade a 30% than a 90%.
Oh, yeah.
A 30%, I'm going to have to put in way more effort than 90%. Fantastic. Oh,
yeah.
Geez, yeah, this sentence is incomplete.
Yeah.
That's all I have to do.
Did I already unlock this one? Yeah, I guess I must have. It's interesting the way the game plays with it. Like this is almost like I'm moving through a fluid. It's a fluid of light. Wait, did I already? I guess I'm not recognizing that mural, but I guess it was already in here. My papers? Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've read any of your academic work, Wildly Average. I've read some of your other writing, and it was great, so I don't know. I miss reading your stories.
No one gets to see my fan fiction account. I did.
Except for all of the internet.
On the internet, it doesn't have my name. I did, in my first month of articling, accidentally text my boss Star Wars fan fiction.
That's amazing.
Oh, God. That was a moment.
Yeah. I mean, were they a fan?
Fortunately, they were a big Star Wars fan, so it didn't go horribly, and I didn't write anything too, horrifying.
It wasn't /fic.
It wasn't /fic. It was not a lemon, to date myself.
Oh yeah, that's that. For those of you interested in the history of censorship, like the citrus code was a thing. And actually, as long as we're talking about like automatic censorship online, I don't know if any of you played like the like Vampire the Masquerade. It was like a tabletop role playing game that was all very gothic and vampire themed, but it had web forms back in I think the 90s, and you know those web forms had a very like crude censorship program built into them, and so it would just kind of take a bad word and then replace it with something else that was considered to be less of a bad word, right? It was a very simple algorithm. Now the thing is, lots of words we use have bad words in them. And so, for instance, if you censor out the word ass, then you turn the Assassination Guild into the Buttonation Guild. So, like things like that in the early days of internet censorship. Wait, well, I started pushing. Yeah, lifting more than writing. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could get more creative writing in. I've just gotten so tired of everything that like I can video game. This is what I can do. Yeah, see that's the galaxy brain moment. Like I'm like, yeah, this is library outreach, but I'm also like, this is what I have brain for. I feel like virtual worlds are just more intrinsically engaging, and I want to engage with people in those spaces because going outside is hard.
That's a fair point. There's a great Terry Pratchett quote. I think it's from, it's one of the ones, it's Discworld. Heard me, obviously. It's one of the ones with some of the witches in it, but it's the opera one. It's the kind of the opera version spoof that he does.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know if I remember that one, but yeah, please continue.
Well, at the end, they talk about the fellow writing what turn out to be musicals instead of operas, and also taking on a different persona by putting on a mask, even if it just becomes an imaginary mask in the end, and operating in the world and in the worlds that he creates in a different way by putting on this persona and allowing that to free him to be more of himself, ironically.
Oh, interesting.
Very cool and very relevant to a lot of tabletop RPGs that I've played.
Yeah.
Where, people end up being kind of freer and almost end up being more fun. Like you have introverts who turn out to be really great at socializing, but only once they put on the mask of this other person or start existing in this different world and different space. Virtual spaces, creative spaces, really freeing for people.
Oh, hugely. I mean, like when I was lecturing in the technology and society back at Dalhousie, I had a whole lecture on like video games and gender, and like trans folks talking about first kind of thinking about their gender experience by being able to inhabit different kinds of avatars and presentation, and there's so many different dimensions of gaming that can give you agency in a world that seems constantly eager to diminish your agency.
Yeah. So I think you've probably seen it, but Shall I Have My Dwarf says, I had a lovely creative writing group back in Halley, and I've always wanted to restart one here, and there are a lot of librarians into it. Yes, I do creative writing as well with my fanfic.
A lot of us do. This one's interesting because it's actually a narrative of your own story up to that point. The tower, all that. Sorry. But yeah, no, a lot of us librarians are into creative writing and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, which is why it's also I like giving out a shout out to the Chusu Gaming Club because they do a lot of D&D and tabletop role playing things.
Yeah. Wildly Average says the amount of voices on the internet compared to people who speak up in a forum is staggering.
Also, more groups have all the productive fun. Yeah, we the librarians, this is one thing I really like about librarians as opposed to just conventional academics, is that we are much more, at least in my experience, pro-social and collaborative. Whereas when I was a regular academic, there was just this kind of don't steal my ideas, get away, hiss, kind of. Even though we had conferences and stuff, it was just kind of showing off and trying to establish priority and that sort of thing.
Yeah, even the Dalhousie librarian who came up with Zombool, which looks like it took so work. She's just put it online. You can absolutely steal it. Doesn't really.
Oh yeah, actually that's one thing I should maybe we could play Zombool at some point. I actually haven't played around with it yet. Michelle, how's it like? I said I was going to explore it the day after, and then I forgot.
code and kind of the behind the scenes of it, and she's just totally put it all out there. And that's spectacular. She's done this really creative thing, put so much work into it, and this is part of the academic integrity. If we were to use it at True, it would just be a matter of this is the person who put all of this work into it, who's done so much work to help you out, but she wants you to be able to learn. And so that's where different types of licensing, like and open source materials come in.
Because they say, like, oh, without like a financial incentive, people won't be motivated to do anything. And I'm like, fandoms exist. Like, when we are intrinsically motivated enough, when we're being geeky enough, we can move mountains. Geeky mountains. Wait, I don't need to really... Do I need... No, I don't need to actually do all those. So I think this place... So you see my scarf? It's cold, so my scarf just gets depleted because it's so chilly out.
Oh.
So those little scarf things kind of like, help replenish me. Also, like, if you have another player with you, you can huddle together for warmth here, which is very kind of cute and sad at the same time. Uh-oh.
My dwarf says, my understanding is that academic integrity works differently when it comes to code. Code gets copied all the time, way more of a Wild West. It technically, code is copyrighted. It is a work. It's just very difficult to prove that anyone took it. And so it's one of those things like when you get to court, the big issue is prove your damages, or proof that anything happens at all, and that's pretty tricky to do in those circumstances.
Interesting, because like my more like computer programmer friends are just like we just like it's expected, like you're not going to code that yourself, that's a waste of time. There's just like big banks of that code that you can just base your own work on, which is both really interesting in terms of just like the ethos of sharing, but also like there's so many of these. Oh, they're gonna blow me away. So many of these like programs that are built up on a whole kind of like Lego tower of subroutines, sub-programs that people just kind of haven't fully investigated. And that's where you get bugs and issues sometimes.
Than, it is anything else. And we have a first time chat from viewer Wacka Stardust. I always thought this is less a game to be played and more an experience to be felt. Without sounding overly dramatic, it just has a spiritual aspect to it.
Journey very much so. Yeah. No, that's again like, outside of my own kind of instrumentalizing things, I just wanted to like play this game with people. Because it is, right? Like it's like it follows a lot of like, as we were talking about last week, almost like hero's journey kind of like deep mythic things. The fact that it's like there's a narrative but it's like non-verbal, I think also really adds to the mystique and the kind of like the power of it. Okay.
Yeah, there is a narrative, but also everyone can kind of have their own narrative based on what they project onto it from their own experiences because of the non-verbal aspects.
The non-specific aspects of it too. Because that can make stories more powerful sometimes.
Yeah,
Uh-oh. Don't push me all the way back. No, I am small and my scarf is like a sail in the wind. But like Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the German writer, when he was writing Faust, in some of his notes at various points, like, oh come on, I can get to that. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. All right, go. Initially in some of his notes, oh hey, there's another person, had specific named characters in the second book of Faust, and then like later on opted to make them more generic. So instead of Rudolph II or something like, or the Holy Roman Empire, he just had like the Emperor and stuff. Almost this kind of tarot card kind of like generality to like talk about like the essence of the core of things. But then you would start talking about essences and cores, and that's a dangerous space to occupy too. I should like specify. Friendo, how are you doing back there? Oh, they were there, weren't they? Friendo?
Yes, they blown back behind you.
I can't move my camera angle. There we go. Let's give you some warmth. Let's light up your scarf. Oof.
Yoo-hoo!
Oh, how are they moving like that? don't know how they're moving like that. Oh well. Well, I was trying to help. Now I got left behind.
Well, it does look like you helped.
True. Hello, Scarf friend. You wanna help? You're cold and chilly in there. No. Come on. Out. Out. No. Okay. Oh no. What do I need to do? Oh, you need to do the super. No. No, I guess that's just where you live, Scarf friend. Okay. Yeah, and the thing is too, again, like it's this like the game is resisting you more, right? Like I'm just pushing forward, but I'm slowing down, and it's vibrating at the same time, right? So it is a sense of like all the different kind of like subtle ways that game feedback systems kind of there's one of those guys again. Game feedback systems work to try to like, you know, design the experience, kind of like build pressure or tension or a sense of like struggle into it. Right, like this is, I'm going very slowly here, but I'm smashing on my walk button.
Yeah. Sort of like how I feel when I've written the whole essay and now I have to go back and do the citations and format them properly.
So, several of the librarians are really getting into Zotero, which was something we might, I mean, not probably a Tuesday material, but like having some more workshops and courses and more developed LibGuides and stuff on.
Yeah. I've been neck deep in writing Canadian legal citation tutorials. It's been just so fun. Well, the McGill guide costs us for the electronic version $17,000 each year to have.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Thomson Reuters reporting student data to ICE and charging us out the nose just to be able to cite properly.
Yeah, no, the politics of the, like, you know, information has a monetary value. You know, one of the things about information literacy is recognizing the politics of information, which, you know, is a whole other field. Disgruntled librarian noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, look at how much frost is on me. It's going so slow. All right, let's see.
That is particularly frustrating to me, I find, because the McGill guide is actually written by students from McGill University for free. They do not get paid.
That is deeply frustrating. Talking about academic integrity, that does not strike me as good academic integrity practice.
No. They don't get paid, and then you know, Thomson Reuters makes $17,000 from one institution who wants to use it.
Yeah, no, I think that's poor academic integrity practice. Oh my goodness, can I?
Yes, now I have my dwarf says, exploit them when they're young. Yeah.
Oh, okay, this is getting more turbulent than ever. There's one of those big things in the sky.
That's the thing. It does feel like when the big players do it, it's, you know, there's no consequence for them. Oh, yes, and shall I have my dwarf says, I mean, shall we get into what exactly defines a predatory publisher?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's...
The politics of publishing.
Wildly average ads. That has got the motto of every business everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a concern. That's why we organize, folks. That's why we organize. Oh no. You can't see me. I'm in here. Oh no. Ah! Poof. Oh. This is my snowbank home now. This is where I live. Ouch. Oh, my poor scarf. All right, let's try that again. The thing is, like, you can, if you hide in there, like, you can hide from them, but if they've already seen you and you try to hide in there, it looks like they just wreck you anyway. Nope, what's one that
she says, perhaps one that relies on exploitation and unpaid labor, while also spreading the myth that they are the only legitimate avenues for credibility.
So that's the thing, talking about legitimacy, yeah. talking about legitimacy and forms of credibility and like double blind peer review and citing traditional knowledge. You'll also find this with a lot of activist communities, right? There are different ways of asserting credibility. I think the core is credibility. Is this person experienced in a good position, like their positionality, to actually speak meaningfully about what they want to talk about, right? In that regard, it can be quite different. I use this example when I'm talking to students, like Angela Davis doesn't have like a PhD in, critical race theory or something, but if she says something about, the experience of the Black freedom movement and resistance, you're gonna cite her because she's lived it and she's a huge part of that world. Like the way the credibility is constructed is context specific.
Yes. And Wildly Average points out, I was literally described as a young, back before my name when I was farming or working shift work. And from what I hear, education is business. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all going towards the mountain together. It's almost like a pilgrimage kind of narrative here. They're all trying to get towards that mountain. Yeah, which also, particularly for farming, is a thing too, right? Because that takes a physical toll on you when you're young. Well, at any age, but you don't fully realize it when you're...
Well, I mean... Wildly Average says, young back.
Oh, so yeah, literally.
I was young, working for the oldies. Yeah. Well, I mean, young people do get exploited, I think, in almost every business now. Even back when I was a young lawyer, it's the named partners who have bought in and are now a different level of partner who are making the money off of what the younger lawyers are doing, and the younger lawyers are having to put in those incredibly long weeks. And now there are different levels of partner that didn't exist before. It used to be there was one buy-in, but now you've got there's a different level of buy-in that you can get when you're younger, but you're probably not going to get the next level until you're much older than you otherwise would have been. And it just
it becomes predatory.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So yeah, so when we talk about, I'm going to stay here because I don't like where that guy's coming from. You talk about, again, integrity. I think it is an issue of integrity. I think these things, come on. We were in the little box. You want to make an issue of this? We were in the little box. Okay. Oh. At least they didn't get my friend, but I'm roadkill again. Boo. Ugh.
Oh, your buddy came to help, though. That's nice.
But, yeah, because
they know...
Oops, sorry, yeah.
So they know that you took the fall for them.
They, so come on. Okay, can we make it? Okay, you're going. All right, if you're going, I'm going. All right. But yeah, I think so. I think these things are connected when we talk about integrity and academic integrity. It's not just did you cite your sources, but how do you exist, essentially? How do you exist in relationship to justice? How do you exist in relationship to community? How do you exist in relationship to what kind of traditions do you want to participate in? Because that's a big thing.
And what Shall I Have My Dwarf was talking about a bit earlier with the predatory publishers. Mm-hmm. There's credibility that you get from doing the thing, and then the predatory publishers are like, well, academic credibility actually requires that you have specifically published in this particular way, and publishers can now take advantage of that. Requiring that you get money to be recognized within that forum instead.
Oh, I've been pummeled so many. Yeah, right? Sorry. All I can do is break this.
Wildly Average puts in, all I can do is break the cycle. Don't wear my abuse as something to be proud of and put others through because, I did it. And that's so common after people.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in the kind of student loans debate too, right? They're like, I had to pay off all my student loans and it was terrible for me. So and I'm like, yeah, well, sometimes you suffer and you don't want other people to go through what you went through. That's why we have, that's why we have Scarf Bodhisattvas. And yeah, right. Again, it's so Elsevier is a huge publishing conglomerate. My first academic article was published with Elsevier, and if I wanted to make it open access, I'd have to pay them $2,000 to do so, for the privilege of doing so. And like, as a grad student, I can't just throw down $2,000 because, you know, I believe that knowledge should be shared. You know, but
no, Elsevier has 3,000% profits, which is not the profit margin of literally any other business on the planet. That's a whole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Again, there's a Netflix documentary called Paywalled where you can actually get a summary of that whole thing.
Oh yeah, shall I have my dwarf points out? Except pharmaceutical companies. Yes, pharmaceutical companies producing drugs that people need to live are another industry in which you can get insane profit margins.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you need... Oh, what's it? Come on. Liver issue. Insulin, I hear. Yeah, like the insulin. Farmer bro. Yeah.